We're working on 9.6, which is factoring ax squared plus bx plus c. How is this different from what we looked at earlier? Now we have a number other than a 1 as our leading coefficient. We have a number other than a 1 as our leading coefficient. This will be the bulk of the factoring that you will be doing. You will see these kind of problems in 9.6, 9.7, and 9.8. Jot down that 2x squared minus 13x plus 6. That's the problem we're going to look at today. And we're going to use a method called guess and check. This is the technical name for it. I learned it in high school, guess and check method. This is what's used in Algebra 2. There is another method called the British method. And we can learn that one too, but I got to teach you guess and check because that's the one that most teachers in Algebra 2 use. If y'all can have your books up on your desk, please. Nothing should be on the side of your desk, on your lap. When we're looking at this information, I'm going to put down a couple sets of binomials here. We know that in order to get the 2x squared when you're foiling, you got to have two numbers that when multiplied together give you 2, and that we're going to have x times x. What two numbers multiplied together give you 2? Tyler? 2 and 1. So I can do x and 2x, okay? Or I could do 2x and then x. It doesn't matter which one goes where at this point. So I got x times 2x. Everybody knows that's 2x squared. Life is good. Now I have to come up with the 6. And I need two numbers still that give me the 6, but I can't just say the sum has to equal a negative 13, because now I have to take into consideration the inside and outside pairs having to add up. So let's think about, if I put in plus 2 and a plus 3, 2 and 3 give me 6, right? 2 times 3. But when you look at their inside-outside pairs, 2 times 2x is how much, class? 4. And 3 times x is? 3. So I got 3x plus 4x gives me? 7. Ooh, not quite what I have in the middle. So I could flip those two numbers around, and I look at it, and here I've got 6x, and over here I have 2x. What's 6x and 2x? 8. Ooh, still not what I have in the middle. Are there any other numbers when multiplied together that give me 6? Any other numbers multiplied? Jack? 1 and 6. 1 and 6. So I have my x and my 2x. I'm going to do plus 1 plus 6 here. Okay, let's check out our inside-outside pairs. Inside and outside. So here I've got 2x and 6x gives us 8x. Okay, doesn't work that direction, so let's flip them around. X plus 6 and 2x plus 1. Notice I'm only flipping that second set each time. Well, I've got 6 times 2x is 12x, and then I've got 1x. How much is that? 13. Ooh, I am so close. I want negative 13x. Any thoughts on how I can get negative 13x? Josh?
Make both numbers negative.
Make both of those numbers negative. All right, so x minus 6 and 2x minus 1. Let's check that out. We've got negative 6 times 2x, negative 12x. Negative 1 times x, negative 1. Add those two together, I get negative 13. Negative 6 times negative 1 is that positive 6. The x times the 2x is the 2x squared. I take my pencil, I put a box around this 1 that works, and we just guessed and checked to our answer. Your answer will always be the last one you tried. Self-fulfilling prophecy? Because why would you do any more once you found it, right? Yeah. So, now, as you probably are looking up here, you're probably going, Mrs. Deegan, you should have been using negatives to begin with. And I could have probably guessed that right from the back. Some of you could, some of you would have to do a little trial. I want to see your trials. Don't do them all in your head, because on some of these, you will forget what you did, and you will keep trying the same numbers over and over and not find the answer. So please jot down what you're working on, what factors you're guessing and checking with. Show me what you've done, and then just put a box around the one that finally does work. Sometimes they'll be very short and very sweet, and sometimes they'll be a little bit longer. Can you see the guess and check method going on there? Any questions so far? All righty. I can see just jubilation in your eyes. 4x squared minus 9x plus 5. All right, we're going to set up two binomials. Actually, I usually set up two pairs right away. I need 4x squared. How can I come up with 4x squared? What are some ways to come up with 4x squared? What do you think, Andrew?
2x times 2x.
Okay, any other ways, Andrew?
4x times x.
Okay, so we've got two different possibilities that we could be using. Which one do you want to use first?
I use the 2x and 2x.
The 2x and the 2x. Okay, and therefore now we have to think about 5. I need factors of 5 to try in there. What factors of 5 should we try in there? What do you think, Kayla?
5 and 1.
5 and 1, so plus 1 plus 5. Try that? Sure. Okay, here I have 2x and here I have 10x. How much is that, class? 12x. Uh-oh. Didn't quite work. What if I would flip around the 5 and the 1? Take a look at that. What if I flip around the 5 and the 1? It's the same thing. How come? The 2x's were the same, exactly. So this second one that we just did here is kind of like, that's redundant, didn't need that. Andrew gave us two other sets of numbers, didn't he? What were those other numbers, Andrew?
4x.
4x and just plain old x. Okay. What about 5 now? What numbers can we use with the 5 there? What are you thinking, Tyler?
5 and 1.
Thinking 5 and 1, so plus 5 plus 1. Or should I do plus 1 plus 5? Keep it this way. Okay. What do I get? I get 9x. I'm close. I need negative, so 4x minus 5 and x minus 1, and then I can put a box around this one, because I'll have my negative 5, my negative 4 gives me my negative 9, positive negative 5, negative 1 gives me positive 5, and I have my 4x squared. Andrew?
If you can see that we need like those negatives like that, can we just use those?
Please do. Please do. When you guys are telling me 5 and 1, I'm putting those numbers in, just like that. Okay, Hayden.
What if you got it on the first try?
Fabulous. You are a good guesser. That will happen on occasion. It won't happen absolutely every time. I know that. But it might happen. Some of you can kind of start looking at things and you're kind of doing some stuff in your head. I understand that. And with some of the easier numbers, that is very possible. Okay, anybody else? All right. So we do this one here. We got 4n squared plus 11n minus 3. Why don't you do this one with your partner? I'll pause. Okay, who's going to give me an answer to this one, please, along the way? Who's going to give this to me? I got 4 people that got it. I got a lot more than that. Grant. Okay, let's go.
4n plus 3.
N minus 1. Let's check it out here. We've got 3n and negative 4n. Gives us a negative 1n. And I want a positive 11n.
Oh wait,
Never mind. Okay, so that one doesn't work too well. Okay, what else we got here, please? Harrison?
4n minus 1.
And n plus 3. Let's check that out. We've got a negative 1n and a positive 12n. That gives us a positive 11. And we have negative 1 times 3 gives us a negative 3, and 4n times n gives us n squared. Fabulous. Now I can put a box around this one because my first guess didn't work. Okay? Are we okay, Grant?
Yeah, I just did it in my head, but I wrote it down backwards.
Ooh, okay. Please put it on paper and check it when you get it on paper, okay? Questions there? All right, let's move on then. Do we need another one here, or shall I go on further? Go on. Negative leading coefficient. Ooh. We kind of talked about this some the other day. Do you have any suggestions of where we should start on this, since it's a negative leading coefficient? Any suggestions? Andrew?
You, do -3 and x on the other side.
I'm not sure.
Like 3 over 2, and then we also could do -3x on one of them, and then just another x on the other.
Okay, that is a possibility. I'm going to highly encourage you to do something else.
Okay.
Tyler?
Multiply the whole thing by -1.
I can't because there aren't two sides to the equation up here. I have an expression. If I had an equation with two sides, yes, I could do that. Okay? Jake?
Could you say -3 times x, or -3x times x?
No. I'm going to encourage you to do something else. Michael?
Did you factor out the negative?
Thank you. That's what I was hoping. We were doing that the other day. We factored out the negative. Factor out the negative and have 3x squared plus 13x plus 4. And work with that -1 on the outside. I am going to encourage you to do that because there are several things coming up where we don't want that leading coefficient to be negative. So factor that negative out, please. That's the way my answers will want you to have it. It will make your life easier later. Okay, again, I know what's coming up. So factor that negative out. And now, you've got a negative sign sitting on the outside. Go ahead and start looking at what numbers can I put inside with my new polynomial that I have up there. 3x plus 13x plus 4. Okay, take a look at that. Talk to your neighbor, please. Anybody have an answer for me? I want the annoying one. Katie.
X plus 4 and 3x
X plus 4 and what else, Katie?
3x
3x plus 1. Let's check it out. We've got 12x and 1x gives us our 13x. Make sure that you're looking inside the big parentheses there. And 4 and 1 gives us 4, 3 and 1. This is going to be our lovely answer.
So you just leave the negative?
Yep, leave the negative on the outside. It's a GCF out there. Okay, now, for those of you who are like, I don't want to take out the negative. I want to have it back in. This is what your answers would look like. Or, that's what the two other answers would look like. The deal is, there's a GCF sitting right here that can come out, and that is the -1. Okay, that GCF can come out, and in 9.7 and 9.8, it's going to be expected to come out. So let's start doing it now. So please take out that leading coefficient. If it's a negative, take out that -1, and your life will be much easier in your factoring. And all of us will have the same factorization. There won't be two possible answers. You won't have to say, can I have this? You will have the answer, and that's what I expect you to have. Okay, any questions there? Awesome. Then why don't we go to this one? You do this one with your partner, please. So if we start looking at this where it's our negative on the outside. Say green or red over there.
That is green.
There we go. So I need like 5m and m. That I know I need, right? And I have a 1, right? A 1 and a 1. That's the only way I can get a 1. So
I was
what
thinking-
sign do I need?
I was thinking of last chapter where you had to think of adding those before.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, be careful. With the leading coefficient not being a 1, You gotta think about the inside and outside pairs, and they have to turn out to be the middle term. Okay? So are we okay with the negative times quantity 5m minus 1 and m minus 1? Wonderful. Let's put a box around it so we can tell ourselves this is the answer. Okay. How about this one? Do this one yet? Then it looks like I have story problems coming up. Work with your partner. All right. Brad, what do you got?
3x minus 2. And x plus 1.
X plus 1.
With the
Anything
negative
else?
on the outside.
Thank you very much. Let's check it out. We got negative 2x, positive 3x. Ooh, negative 2x and positive 3x. Does that give us a negative x up there?
You have to switch the
Negative
sign
2x.
We gotta take our sign out. And it'd be best to rewrite this, because I didn't rewrite it, so that when I'm looking at it, I have what Brad is telling me here. So, negative 2x and positive 3x gives us our positive x, okay? I would highly encourage you, if you take that negative out, to rewrite that first and then go into your binomials. Okay, is Brad's okay now? Yes. All right. Anybody else? Any troubles? Not too bad, is it? Guessing and checking, it's not the worst thing in the world. It could be worse. The numbers could be bigger. A soccer goalie throws a ball into the air at an initial height of 8 feet and an initial vertical velocity of 28 feet per second.
Oh.
Write an equation that gives the height in feet of the soccer ball as a function of the time in seconds since it left the goalie's hand. Okay. Forget about the bottom part for a moment. We're just going to do the top part.
Vertical motion.
This is vertical motion. Good. I'm glad you remember that. Negative equation.
So we have to like memorize this for the test.
I told you had to memorize that formula.
Negative 16.
I am now repeating myself. Okay. I need the vertical motion equation first of all. Vertical motion equation. Tyler?
0.
No, not 0 equals. I want just the vertical motion equation to begin with.
Squared plus 30.
No,
Or no, plus BT. Plus 0.
not plus 0.
Plus S.
Plus S equals H. This is where we start. Okay, this is what you have to start with. This is where every problem begins, with vertical motion. And from there, we will put in what we know. And all I want is an equation that gives the height as a function of the time since it left the goalie's hand. I have asked nothing more of you than that. You know nothing else. I just want that equation. So what in this information do you know to put into that equation? Talk to your neighbor a second. Decide what you know. Okay, I would like to know what our formula looks like so far with just the information that we know up here. That is all we want at this point. Hayden?
Negative 16t squared plus 28t.
Just one moment, sweetheart. For whatever reason, I'm moving things around and I don't want to do so. Is that red or green over there?
That is green.
It is green. There we go.
Okay.
Okay. One more time, Hayden.
Negative 16t squared plus 28t plus 8.
Plus 8 equals what? What are we going to put over here?
0.
Not a 0 yet. What do you know from the problem, ladies and gentlemen?
H.
It's H. We know nothing else. When I ask you on your test, hint, hint, wink, wink, when I ask you on the test to write an equation that gives something as a function of the time since, I expect H equals negative 16t squared plus whatever the velocity is times t plus whatever the starting height is. That is the height as a function of the time. You know nothing else yet. Then I will say, okay, now when does it hit the ground? Now what do you get to substitute in?
0.
0 for what?
8.
H. Now I get to put a 0 in for my H. This is where I'm going to start solving. The other one, I have to have the height as a function of the time. What if I said to you, when is it 5 feet off the ground? What would you put in? 5 in for H. When is it 2 feet off the ground? 2 in for H. When is it 10 feet off the ground? Okay. That's all part of the height is a function of the time. So you can't give me anything for H until I give you that number. When I ask you to write an equation for the height as a function of the time, I expect this type of an answer. Okay, now we have to factor this. Oh, wow. You know what? I'm going to give you a little hint. This is an early hint for 9.8. Take out a GCF first. What would be the GCF that you would take out?
-4.
Talk to your partner. What would you take out? Okay, any thoughts of what we're going to take out? Hayden, what do you think? -4. Why do you say negative?
Because the leading coefficient is negative.
Awesome, thank you. We got a leading coefficient that's negative. Okay, take out a -4. What are we left with if you take out a -4 first? Do you have a volunteer tell me what you're left with? Go ahead, Michael.
4t squared. Minus 7t. Minus 2.
All righty. You know what? You just made your math a lot easier, didn't you? Can you factor that polynomial that has smaller a, b, and c in it? Or would you rather have guessed and checked on the -16, the 28, and the 8? Some of you, are gluttons for punishment, right? I would do the easier one. Why don't you and your partner work it out? Back to the front here. What do we have as our 2 binomials that we are going to be looking at here? Who's got my 2 binomials for me on the way? Just 3 people got the answers done? Holy cows. Thank you. That's much better. Allie, what do you have to say?
14 plus 1.
And t minus 2. The -4 is still sitting on the outside equals 0. Do you guys agree with Allie so far?
Yeah.
Life looks good? Okay, what do we do next? What do we have to do next, Andrew? No, I cannot put a box around it. Because I want to know after how many seconds does it hit the ground. Do I know how many seconds, Hayden?
So for each binomial.
All righty, set each binomial.
0.
See, all you people said, what do I do now? I don't know what to do. I put a box around it. Jeez. 4t plus 1 equals 0, and t minus 2 equals 0. And how about a -4 equals 0?
That's false. Throw it out.
That's false. Throw it out. All right, Evan, you got it. It has no variable with it, does it? Okay, there's no variable there, so we got to throw it away.
There you go, Evan.
All right, now, for this one here, what's t going to be equal to? -1/4 seconds, right? What's the other one going to be? 2 seconds. So when did it hit the ground?
2 seconds.
At 2 seconds. Well, what about the -1/4 second? Can't have negative time. Okay, here you are, okay, and you kick the ball, and you kick the ball. Are you kicking it? No, you're throwing it. You're throwing the ball, sorry. You're throwing the ball, not kicking it. And you're throwing the ball, and it hits the ground. Hits the ground 2 seconds later. What about this -1/4? It's a weak throw. Jack.
Maybe that's when you picked up the ball.
Maybe that's when I picked up the ball. Actually, what it is if you continued this curve back down to the ground, if it was traveling at that same rate of speed, that's how fast it would have been a 1/4 of a second earlier, it would have been on the ground. Crazy, yes. Second time there.
So if you had dropped it, it would have taken a 1/4 of a second?
No, I'm saying that had it started from the ground at the same speed at which you threw it, had it started from the ground, it would have only taken a 1/4 of a second to go from the ground up to where you threw it from. Okay. Yeah, 8 feet. Well, Brad could probably stand up here and put his hand up, throw the ball, be 8 feet up there, right? How tall are you, Brad?
Like 6'2".
6'2", and when you put your hand up in the air, that's another 2, 3 feet. He could probably have it up at 9 feet.
No.
Gigantia arms, you know?
Because it doesn't stand gotta be able
And then if he stands on the little box.
And if he stood on my box, he'd really be up there. There you go. All right.
No.
So how many seconds did it hit the ground? 2 seconds. We're throwing the negative time away. Awesome. Any questions there?
Actually, I like these facts for helping out.
Okay, you and your partner are working together. Please jot this down. Please jot these down. It's 9 problems.
Too much.
This is in class.
Too much.
Too much. Please jot these down.
We still have 40 days.